So what's going to happen with Green Lantern next? Well, Grant Morrison, Liam Sharp are wrapping up their second season or second run. It's kind of weird that it was broken up that way. I'm sure there was some good marketing reason for them to do that, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, what next? Where does Green Lantern go as a character? It's one of DC's stables. So what's the plan? Hey everybody, this is Perch. I should have led with this. I don't know what the plan is. If you come into this video, you're like, all right, we're going to hear the plan. I don't know what it is. So get those downvotes in there right now, folks. It was bait and switch. So going on, I'll make sure the thumbnail image reflects what I'm talking about here. Anyway, Green Lantern is a character that has a deep kind of DC history that dates back a long, long ways. And there's a lot of different iterations. You have Alan Scott, you have Hal Jordan, you have a Guy Gardner. I mean, you have John Stewart, you have Kyle Rayner, you have 8 billion other Green Lanterns. You've got the different shades of lantern. You got all the color spectrum, and then over in Legion of Superheroes, we have the gold lantern, and pretty soon we're going to have the platinum lantern and the silver lantern and the bling lantern, and then I think we move off into other lanterns, like we can have the the I, I get myself into trouble in a real hurry. Anyway, um, we had Green Lantern under Jeff Johns got to be a fairly powerful comic, sold well. We had both the Sinestro War and the Blackest Night events, which did really well, or well loved, I would say, by DC. And I think that the Green Lantern mythos and kind of everything that goes on there is a good one for new readers. It's both simultaneously very comic booky, very continuity heavy, and also super accessible. If you're coming into this comic new, you're like, hey, what's going on here? It's like, well, this guy has a magic ring and powers. The end. Like you could start there and be okay. It's like, well, what are these other colors of rings? It's like, oh, those are different rings with different powers based on different things. Cool. I mean, you could pretty much get going at that point. And then of course, there's a lot of mythology and lore and everything else to the comic, but it's one of DC's, I think, more accessible characters, and I think DC in general. So here's an interesting thought, just to roll out there, is that Marvel hasn't really rebooted. They've done things like Secret Wars by Hickman, which, if you really look at it, did reboot the universe. I mean, it restarted the world. The 616 is not the same 616. People just kind of ignore that. But Marvel really hasn't rebooted. They get themselves into weird things every now and then where it's like, wait a minute, was Tony Stark in Afghanistan, or maybe he's in Vietnam still, or nobody's really sure what's going on. The timeline moves around. And in general, I don't think it pays to really think about it very much. There's no money to be made from really sorting out which war Tony Stark got injured in, or if he did even get injured anymore. I mean, who knows? Um, but their characters are a little bit more, I would say, have a little bit more trouble with continuity. It's like Captain America. Well, is he a captain? Well, no, but he's got that title and he has a shield, but does he have powers? Well, yeah, he does have some powers, but not like Captain Marvel powers. And Thor is a god. What kind of god? Well, it's guardian and he's the king, but then it's a little bit more convoluted. Whereas DC in general, I think, benefits from having a much lighter continuity. It's like Batman. He's a rich guy, beats up criminals. Superman. He's an alien, came to the planet, fights crime. Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman's a little bit more complex. But in general, you get my point. The DCs, I think, are a little bit easier for new readers to come on and just kind of figure out what's going on and get going. But interestingly enough, DC themselves is one of the first to say, oh man, our continuity is a mess. We've got alternate Earths and we need a crisis here to sort all this stuff out. We better reboot the line. And they've done this several times. They've done it a few times, not several times. They've done it. You had the New 52, and if anything, I think DC, by trying to fix their continuity, makes their continuity more confusing. Whereas in a lot of cases, if new readers just coming on to get comics, they're it's easy. It's easy to figure out what's going on. I think in general, I mean, Aquaman, a guy is under the water, has powers. Like, why does he have powers underwater? Who cares? He's just got powers. Don't worry about it. I think it's quicker to explain DC to people who are new to comics, and that's been my experience anyway. Um, but it is yeah, anyway. That's a big long aside. Sorry, I completely derailed the Green Lantern part of the video. So what happened? So we've got Grant Morrison came on to do Green Lantern under some fanfare, not as much as like when he did Superman or certainly Batman, but he's Grant Morrison's stamp on Green Lantern. And we have Liam Sharp, who's done a really good job, I think, of giving us some new, unique art. And, all good stuff there. And they did this first season, and then they did a little kind of mini series in between, and then they did a second season. Now, I still don't quite understand what the value of the second season was. Why they was there a sales reason to reboot? Was this DC kind of testing the waters of being more like Marvel, where they reboot just after a year on principle? I'm not sure exactly what they were going for there, but they did it at any rate. And so this second season is wrapping up. There won't be a third season, is what we've been told. And in theory, Green Lantern is going to have new people, driving that ship. But unlike in years past, there doesn't seem like there's a clear, ready-made person that is in the wings. We know that Vendetti's got some dream project that he's interested in doing, and maybe that's it. We know Josh Williamson, I believe, has a project he's going to be doing that he's excited about. Maybe one of those is Green Lantern. We know that we have death metal and kind of a reformation of the DC universe, or at least some change, some big moment in time in February where you have the what's next. We know Scott Snyder is not going to Green Lantern, or at least he said he's going to step away from hero books for a little bit of time. So maybe it's probably not him. Tom King, no indications. Tom King is coming on to Green Lantern to make him sad. Bendis is wrapping up Superman. Maybe Bendis is going to Green Lantern. Nobody, but not really a lot of indications. So where's Green Lantern going? We don't know. But the interesting part is Green Lantern encompasses such a large part of the DC universe at this point. You've got like I mentioned, you have Hal Jordan, you have John Stewart, you have Guy Gardner, you have Jessica Cruz, you have Simon Baz, you've got Kyle Rayner. I mean, you've got a ton of just Earth Green Lanterns, and then you've got the Corps in general, and Guardians and New Guardians and Young Guardians. And there's so much there. There's like almost an entire comic publisher line of comics just with Green Lantern, if you think about it. And so what should the Green Lantern book even be? Should it, we just had Grant Morrison kind of going back to basics with Space Cop Hal Jordan. So, are we going to get another Green Lantern Corps book? Are we going to, how many Green Lantern books could this publisher squeeze out of here? And how do we make Green Lantern not become like a Legion of Superheroes level of so many characters, so many different plates spinning that you kind of lose track of any one person? It's a thing that Green Lantern struggled with for a while in different formats, where they get so many different things going on. It's just what are we talking about again? Nobody really knows. So that's basically where Green Lantern finds itself. Now, my suspicion, if I'm doing predictions here, is that we're going to get a Green Lantern book that isn't more of an ensemble book. We're going to get more of the, Hal Jordan and friends kind of approach to Green Lantern. My guess is one of those names, whether it's Vendetti or Williamson, is going to be tapped to be on that book and kind of build out that Green Lantern mythology. We're going to see some press out there talking about how, whoever that writer is going to, I've always loved Green Lantern and the rich mythology and universe that it provides, and we're just excited to, see where this product, this title can go, and just, really build out the universe of Green Lantern. And I think if DC is thinking right, I think they'll look to try and figure out 2 to 3 books of Green Lantern they could squeeze out of this thing, and and all the rest. And at some point, DC will figure out they need to do some more movies. We'll get the Ryan Reynolds kind of world kind of washed away, and we'll be on to new things. But I think Green Lantern is one of the titles you have to watch in 2021. It's definitely going to be one that they're going to put some effort and some attention to. I think there's going to be a renewed push to try and get bring Green Lantern into the forefront of being one of their premier heroes, and it's going to be something they focus on. I would guess 2021 we're going to see a very, very large Green Lantern push within DC with probably some fairly well-known creators on it. The question will be, who are those creators, and how does it all pull in? I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they did want to give this over to Bendis and have Bendis try and put his stamp on the Green Lantern universe. He seems to like playing in these kind of big universe kind of things, and you might even argue that his work on Powers and some of his Avengers work would lend itself to a title like Green Lantern. You could also use the exact same logic to say why he would be terrible for Green Lantern. But what do you think? Who would you like to see on Green Lantern? Where do you think it goes? Do you agree with me that 2021 we're going to see a Green Lantern push? What would that look like? Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts, your ideas. Like, subscribe, follow me on social media at Facebook, Twitter, at Comic Perch. And most importantly, thanks for listening.